The ocean was darker than anything had ever seen. Even after 15 years of deep-sea research, she had never gone this deep. The submersible's lights cut through the black water like weak flashlights in a cave that had no end. "We are now passing 11,000 meters," said from the pilot's seat. Her voice was calm, but could see her hands were tight on the controls. "That is deeper than anyone has ever gone in this region." Looked at her tablet. The readings made no sense. There was something down here, something that was pulling at their instruments like a magnet. The Korean Deep Sea Research Institute had sent them to investigate strange signals that satellites had detected 3 months ago. Everyone thought it would be nothing, probably just volcanic activity or a new underwater mountain. But new volcanic activity. She had studied it her whole life. This was not volcanic activity. "The magnetic readings are getting stronger," said. He sat at the science station, his face lit blue by his screens. He was a quiet man who rarely spoke unless he had something important to say. Right now, his voice was worried. "Much stronger. I have never seen anything like this." The fourth member of their team was a young engineer who had joined the institute only 6 months ago. This was his first deep-sea mission. He had been excited when they left the surface. Now he looked scared. "Should we turn back?" asked. "The pressure at this depth is very dangerous if anything goes wrong with the hull." "We did not come all this way to turn back," said, but she understood his fear. At this depth, the water pressure could crush their submersible like a paper cup. The only thing keeping them alive was a few centimeters of special metal. The submersible continued to sink. 12,000 meters, 12,500. The darkness seemed to get thicker, like the water itself was made of ink. Then said, "I see something." Everyone moved to look through the front window. At first, could not understand what she was seeing. There were shapes in the darkness, not natural shapes like rocks or coral. These shapes had straight lines and sharp angles. They looked like buildings. "That is impossible," whispered. His heart was beating fast. In all of human history, no one had ever found anything like this. Structures at the bottom of the ocean. Structures that someone had built. "Take us closer," she ordered. The submersible moved forward slowly. As they got closer, the lights revealed more details. The structures were made of black metal that seemed to eat their light instead of reflecting it. Some were broken and covered in thousands of years of sediment. Others still stood tall and complete. "This is a city," said. Her voice was full of wonder. "Someone built a city down here." "Not someone," said. He pointed at the largest structure ahead of them. "Something. Look at the size of that doorway. It must be 5 meters tall. Whatever built this was not human." Felt cold despite the warmth of the submersible. Was right. This was not a human city. This was something else, something alien. "We need to document everything," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Start recording. Take samples if you can." Activated all the cameras. Powered up the mechanical arm on the outside of the submersible. They moved deeper into the underwater city, recording everything they saw. The buildings had no windows, no decorations. They were simple and functional, built by creatures who did not care about beauty. Everything was built for strength, built to last forever. And it had lasted. For how long? Thousands of years, millions. They reached the center of the city. Here there was a structure larger than all the others. It was shaped like a dome, smooth and perfect, with a single entrance that faced them like an open mouth. "I am detecting an energy source inside," said. "It is very weak, but it is there. Something in there still has power after all this time." Should have told them to stop. She should have ordered to take them back to the surface so they could report their discovery and let others decide what to do. That was the safe thing to do, the smart thing to do. But had spent her whole life searching for answers. She could not turn back now. "Take us inside," she said. The entrance was large enough for their submersible to pass through. Inside, they found a single massive chamber. And in the center of that chamber, floating in some kind of crystal container, was a body. Made a sound of fear, stopped the submersible completely, just stared, his mouth open. The body was humanoid but clearly not human. It was nearly 4 meters tall, with skin like polished black stone. Its body was covered in what looked like armor made from the same strange metal as the buildings. Its head was large, with a strong jaw and flat face. But the most disturbing thing was the eyes. There were 6 of them, arranged in a circle around the top of the skull like a crown. They were closed now, but even closed, they seemed powerful, dangerous. "It is dead," said. "It must be dead. Nothing could live this long." "The energy reading is coming from the crystal container," said. I think it might be some kind of preservation system." Stared at the alien. 60,000 years, 100,000 years, maybe more. It had been sleeping here since before humans learned to build fires, before humans existed at all. "We need a sample," she said. "Just a small piece of the crystal so we can analyze it." Hesitated. "Are you sure? What if we damage something?" "We will be careful. Just touch the outside of the container, nothing more." Nodded slowly. He moved the mechanical arm toward the crystal container. The arm got closer, closer. Then the metal finger touched the crystal surface. Light exploded through the chamber. Was thrown back in her seat. All the screens went black. The submersible's engine died. In the sudden darkness, she could hear her crew screaming. Then a new light appeared, blue-white and bright as the sun. It came from the crystal container, which was now cracking and breaking apart. The liquid inside was boiling away. And the body, the alien body that had been sleeping for longer than human civilization, was moving. Its 6 eyes opened. They were gold, bright gold, like coins, like stars, like fire. They looked around the chamber, then focused on the small submersible floating in front of them. Could not breathe. She could not move. She could only watch as the alien slowly stood up from its broken container. Water and crystal fell from its body. Its ancient armor began to glow with soft light. It was alive. After all those years, it was alive. The alien looked at them for a long moment, expected it to attack, to destroy them with a wave of its hand. But it did not. Instead, its expression seemed almost sad. It opened its mouth and made sounds, words in a language that no human had ever heard. Then it stopped, as if realizing they did not understand. The alien's eyes closed briefly. When they opened again, something had changed. It spoke once more. This time the words were in Korean, perfect Korean, as if it had spoken the language its whole life. "How long?" the alien asked. Its voice was deep and heavy like stones grinding together. "How long have I slept?" Its voice was barely a whisper. "We do not know. Thousands of years, maybe more." The alien absorbed this information. Then it looked past them, at the broken city around them, at the dark water that had been its tomb. "Then they are gone," it said, "and I am the last." It turned back to them. Those 6 golden eyes studied each of them in turn. "I am," the alien said. "I was a king once, and you are the creatures who have woken me." The submersible's emergency power flickered on. In the weak light, saw that the alien was moving toward them, not attacking, just moving, like it wanted to see them better. "You are so small," said, "so fragile, yet you came all the way down here into the deep and the dark just to see what you might find." The alien almost smiled. "Brave," it said, "or stupid, perhaps both. Tell me, little creatures, what do you call yourselves?" Found her voice. "We are humans. We are from the surface, from Earth." Earth repeated. "Yes, I remember now. I chose this world because it was young, because its people were young. I thought I would sleep and never wake." Its golden eyes seemed to look through her, into her, past her. "But I have woken, and you have woken me. And now I think both of our peoples will have to face what comes next." The submersible shook as moved past them, toward the exit. "Come," the last king of the said. "Take me to your surface. We have much to discuss, you and I, and very little time." The journey to the surface took 6 hours. 6 hours of silence inside the damaged submersible, while something ancient and impossible swam beside them in the dark water. Did not need a vessel. He moved through the crushing depths as easily as a fish, his body protected by armor that still worked after 60,000 years. Sometimes he would swim ahead and disappear into the blackness. Then he would return, matching their slow speed with what seemed like infinite patience. Watched him through the small window. The alien king had not spoken since they left the underwater city. He just swam, his 6 golden eyes watching everything, remembering a world that no longer existed. "What do we tell them?" asked quietly. "When we reach the surface, what do we say?" Was working on the communication system. Their main radio was destroyed, but he had managed to fix the emergency beacon. They already know something happened. The energy pulse would have been detected by every satellite in the Pacific. There will be ships waiting for us. Had not spoken since they left the chamber. He sat in his seat, staring at nothing, still trying to understand what he had done. He had reached out with a mechanical arm to take a sample, a simple action, and he had woken up something that had been sleeping since before his species existed. "This is not your fault," told him. "We all agreed to go inside. We all made this choice together." "I touched it," said. "I woke him up." "You did what any scientist would do. You reached for knowledge. That is who we are. That is what makes us human." Looked at her, his eyes were tired and scared. "And now what? What happens next?" Did not have an answer. They broke the surface at dawn. The sun was just rising over the Pacific Ocean, painting the water gold and red. Rose with them, his massive body emerging from the waves like something from an ancient myth. Water poured from his armor. His black skin caught the sunlight and seemed to drink it. For a moment the alien king just stood there in the shallow water, looking at the sky, looking at the sun. His expression was impossible to read. 60,000 years, he said, almost to himself. The same star, but everything else has changed. Then he saw the ships. There were dozens of them, military vessels from Korea, Japan, China, America, and other nations. Helicopters circled overhead. Soldiers lined the decks, weapons pointed at the impossible creature standing in the water. Looked at them calmly. He did not seem afraid, he seemed amused. "Your people are quick," he said through the submersible's external speakers. "I have been awake for only a few hours, and already your warriors have gathered." "They are scared," replied. "They do not understand what you are." "Fear is natural. Fear keeps species alive." Began walking toward the shore. The soldiers on the nearest ship started shouting orders. Warning shots were fired into the water ahead of him. The alien did not stop. "Tell them I mean no harm," said. "Tell them I am tired. Tell them I have traveled very far and I only want to rest my feet on dry land." Grabbed the radio that had fixed. She broadcast on every frequency she could find. "This is Dr. Park from the Korean Deep Sea Research Institute. Do not attack. I repeat, do not attack. The alien is not hostile. He wishes to communicate." The shooting stopped. The helicopters pulled back slightly, but the weapons stayed pointed at as he walked out of the water and onto the beach. He was on island, recognized the volcanic rocks and the dark sand. A small crowd of local people had gathered on the cliffs above the beach, watching with terror and amazement as the alien king set foot on human soil for the first time. Looked around at everything: the sand, the rocks, the green trees beyond the beach, the humans watching from their ships and their cliffs. His 6 golden eyes moved constantly, taking in details, analyzing, remembering. Then he did something unexpected. He knelt down and touched the sand with one massive hand. He picked up a handful and let it run through his fingers. "Your world is beautiful," he said. 60,000 years ago there was nothing here but ice and small creatures hiding in caves. Now look at you. ships that cross the water, machines that fly through the air. You have grown so much." A helicopter landed on the beach nearby. Soldiers poured out, taking defensive positions. Behind them came a woman in a formal suit, walking without fear toward the alien giant who knelt in the sand. Recognized her from the news. This was Myra Song, the Secretary General of the United Earth Council, the most powerful political leader on the planet. She had somehow arrived before anyone else. Myra stopped 10 meters from. She was small compared to him, small and fragile and completely human, but she stood straight, her eyes meeting his without looking away. "I am Secretary General Myra Song," she said. "I speak for the people of Earth. We welcome you to our world, but we need to understand who you are and why you are here." Stood slowly. Even from a distance, his size was overwhelming. He towered over Myra like a mountain over a child. "I am," he said. "I was the last king of the empire. Once my people ruled 3 galaxies. We built cities on 1,000 worlds. We thought we would live forever." He paused, and for a moment, his ancient face showed something like grief. "We were wrong." Myra did not flinch. "What happened to your people?" "They came," said. "The harvesters, machines that eat civilizations. They sweep through the galaxy like a plague, destroying everything organic, everything alive. My people fought them for 300 years. We won, but victory cost us everything." Had climbed out of the submersible and walked closer to hear. She could see, and following behind her. All of them needed to hear this. "Our worlds were burned," continued. "Our population fell from trillions to thousands. I was wounded by a weapon that slowly turns living flesh into dead metal. There was no cure. I was dying." "So you came here," Myra said, "to Earth. Your world was young. Your star was stable. Your water had properties that we believed might slow the poison in my body. I came here to sleep, to let your oceans try to heal me. I expected to die in my sleep. I did not expect to wake up." Myra glanced at, then back at. "And the harvesters, these machines that destroyed your empire, what happened to them?" His golden eyes darkened. "We destroyed their main fleet. We killed their central intelligence. We thought we had ended them forever, but machines do not die easily. They rebuild, they remember, they return." The alien king looked up at the sky. The sun had risen higher now, filling the world with light. "The harvesters are coming," said. "Not today, not tomorrow, but soon. They followed me here across 60,000 years of time. My presence on this world left a trace, a signal that they will eventually find." Fear spread through the crowd like cold water. Soldiers whispered to each other. Someone on the cliff started crying. Myra's voice was steady. "How long do we have?" 18 months, perhaps less." Looked down at her with something that might have been respect. "Your people have grown much since I last saw them, but you are still children compared to what is coming. The harvesters destroyed civilizations that had existed for millions of years. You have existed for barely 10,000. "Then why are you telling us this?" Myra asked. "Why not just leave, find another world?" Was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was heavy with shame and sorrow. "Because I brought this upon you. I came to your world seeking rest, and in doing so I marked you for death. The harvesters will come because of me. Every human who dies will die because of my choice." He knelt down again, bringing his massive face closer to Myra's level. "I cannot undo what I have done, but I can help you prepare. I can teach you what I know. I can give you the knowledge of the Empire, everything we learned in our million years of existence. It will not be enough. The harvesters are many and you are few, but perhaps it will give you a chance." Myra studied his face for a long moment. Then she nodded once. "Then we have work to do," she said. "Welcome to Earth, last king of the first ally of humanity." Almost smiled. It was a strange expression on his alien face. "You do not run," he said. "You do not beg. You face impossible odds with nothing but determination and courage. Your people remind me of my own, long ago before we became too proud." He stood to his full height again, looking out at the gathered humans with their ships and weapons and fear. "Perhaps you are not as weak as I thought. Perhaps 60,000 years of evolution has given you something special, something the harvesters will not expect." The alien king took a deep breath of earth air. "Come," he said, "take me to your leaders. We have much to discuss and very little time to discuss it. The harvesters are patient, but they are also relentless, and they are already on their way." The world went mad. In the first week after submergence, 3 new religions were formed worshiping him as a god. 2 governments collapsed under the pressure of public panic. Stock markets crashed. People ran into the streets screaming about the end of the world. Others locked themselves in bunkers and refused to come out. But most people just kept living. They went to work. They fed their children. They watched the news and talked to their neighbors and tried to understand how their world had changed overnight. Found this surprising. She had expected total chaos. Instead, she found something else. She found humans being human. Scared, yes. Confused, yes. But also stubborn and resilient and unwilling to simply give up. The United Earth Council moved to a secure location in Geneva. A special building was constructed for him, large enough to accommodate his massive body, equipped with the best technology humanity could offer. World leaders came to meet him one by one. Scientists asked him endless questions. Military commanders demanded to know about the harvester threat. Answered everything with patience. He seemed genuinely impressed by human curiosity. They were not the most advanced species he had encountered, not by far, but they asked questions that older species had never thought to ask. They looked at problems from angles that surprised him. "Your minds work differently than any I have known," he told during one of their private conversations. She had become his primary contact, the bridge between the alien king and human leadership. "You think in spirals, not lines. You jump from idea to idea like birds jumping from branch to branch. It is inefficient, but also creative." "Is that a compliment?" asked. "It is an observation. Whether it is good or bad remains to be seen." The debates in the Earth Council were fierce. Admiral of the United Earth Defense Force wanted immediate military cooperation. "He knows how to fight these harvesters," argued. "He has done it before. We need his knowledge, his technology, everything he can give us." Director of the Global Science Council disagreed. "We cannot trust him completely. He is an alien being with unknown motivations. We need to study him, understand how his biology works, verify that his story is true. For all we know, he could be the danger, not these so-called harvesters." "The harvesters are real," said. He had been invited to present his findings from the underwater city. "The structures we found are over 60,000 years old. The technology is far beyond anything we can explain. Story matches all the evidence." "That proves his story might be true," replied. "It does not prove he means us well." The arguments went back and forth for weeks. Meanwhile, waited. He did not demand anything. He did not threaten. He simply offered his help and let humanity decide whether to accept it. It was during this time that had his private conversation with the alien king. The two of them were walking in the garden outside's building. It was a beautiful spring day, warm and bright, with flowers blooming everywhere. "Can I ask you something?" said. Looked down at him. "You may ask anything." "Why do you care? About us, I mean. You could find another world. You said the harvesters are following you, not Earth. If you left, they might follow you and leave us alone." Stopped walking. For a long moment he was silent, staring at a small flower growing beside the path. "When I was young," he finally said, "I believed that power was the most important thing. I fought battles, won wars, conquered enemies. I thought I was invincible. My people thought we were invincible. We had existed for 1,000,000 years. We had technology that could reshape stars. What could possibly destroy us? He reached down and gently touched the flower with one massive finger. Then the harvesters came, and we learned that we were not invincible. We were just another civilization waiting to fall. Waited. I led the final fleet myself, continued. 300 years of war. I watched my friends die. I watched entire worlds burn. When it was over, when the harvesters were finally defeated, I looked around and saw nothing. Everything I had known, everything I had loved was gone. His golden eyes met. I came to Earth to die. I was tired of living, tired of loss. I thought if I slept long enough, the poison in my body would finish its work and I would finally rest. But you woke up. I woke up, and when I did, I realized something. The harvesters are coming because of me. Because I chose to hide here, I have doomed your species to face the same horror that destroyed mine. His voice grew heavy with guilt. I cannot undo that choice. I cannot go back in time and choose a different world, but I can do something I have never done before. I can stay and face the consequences of my actions. I can fight alongside you instead of fleeing alone. He stood up straight, his massive form casting a long shadow across the garden. Your species is young and small and fragile, but you are also brave and curious and stubborn. You remind me of what they were once, long ago, before we became proud and blind. I want to see if you can succeed where we failed. I want to see if you can survive. Thought about this for a while. You want us to succeed, he said, but you also feel guilty. Both things can be true at once. And if we lose, if the harvesters destroy us despite everything you teach us. His eyes were sad. Then I will die with you. I will not abandon your world to face destruction alone. This I promise you, small human. Whatever happens, I will be there at the end. That conversation changed everything. Reported it to the Earth Council. The debate shifted. Admiral argued that guilt was a weakness they could exploit. Director argued it made unpredictable, but Secretary General Myra saw something else. He feels responsible, Myra said. He is staying because he believes he owes us. That is not the action of an enemy. That is the action of someone who wants to make amends. She stood before the council and made her decision. We will accept alliance. We will learn everything he can teach us. We will build defenses against the harvesters, and we will show the universe that humanity does not surrender easily. The vote was close, but it passed. The impossible alliance was formed. In the following months, everything changed. Shared knowledge that pushed human science forward by centuries. New materials were developed. New energy sources were discovered. New weapons were designed based on technology but adapted to human needs. Led the research division. Her team worked day and night, reverse engineering alien technology and finding ways to make it work with human systems. It was exhausting and frustrating and incredibly exciting. Every day brought new discoveries. Every week brought new breakthroughs. Was given command of the new Deep Fleet, warships designed to fight in both water and space. He had never wanted to be a military commander, but he understood the enemy better than anyone. He had studied records of the Harvester War. He knew how they thought, how they attacked, how they could be beaten. Became one of the first pilots trained in combat techniques. She was a natural, her quick reflexes and creative thinking making her perfect for the new ships. She led the training program, turning ordinary pilots into warriors who could face impossible odds. And the young engineer who had accidentally awakened made a breakthrough that no one expected. While studying harvester technology, he developed a detection system that could spot their ships at extreme range. It would give humanity early warning, precious time to prepare before an attack. You are remarkable, told them during a meeting of the New Earth Defense Assembly. In less than a year, you have accomplished what took my people centuries. You learn faster than any species I have ever seen. We had good teachers, replied. Shook his massive head. I gave you knowledge, But knowledge is nothing without the will to use it. Your will is something I cannot teach. It is something you were born with." He looked around at the assembled humans, scientists and soldiers and leaders from every nation on Earth. "The harvesters are coming. They will arrive in less than 6 months. They will be powerful and numerous and utterly without mercy. But for the first time in a very long time, I believe they will face something they do not expect." His golden eye seemed to glow with something that might have been hope. "They will face humans, and humans, I am beginning to understand, do not know how to give up." The scout ship came without warning. 3 months before the main harvester fleet was expected to arrive, a single vessel dropped out of hyperspace near Jupiter. It was small by harvester standards, only 2 kilometers long, but it carried enough firepower to destroy a continent. Admiral gathered the first fleet to intercept. 12 ships, the first vessels built with technology. They were untested in real combat. Their crews had trained for less than a year. No one knew if they would be enough. Watched the battle from Earth. His body was too weak to fight, the poison spreading through his system faster each day. But he could still advise, still guide, still hope. "The Harvester Scout will underestimate you," he told through the communication link. "It has never faced humans before. It will assume you fight like every other organic species it has encountered. Use that assumption against it." The battle began near the asteroid belt. The harvester ship moved with terrible precision, its weapons cutting through space like needles through cloth. 3 human ships were destroyed in the first minute. 2 more were crippled. The remaining 7 fell back, their commanders screaming for orders. "What do we do?" demanded. "Our weapons are barely scratching it." On Earth, closed his eyes. He remembered battles from long ago, battles against the same enemy, battles where they had thrown everything they had against the machines and barely survived. But then something happened that surprised even him. Lieutenant, commanding the Storm Dragon, did something no commander would ever have done. Instead of retreating further, she flew directly toward the harvester ship. Not at a safe distance, not from a strategic angle. She flew straight at the enemy, accelerating to speeds that the scout's targeting systems could not predict. "She is going to die," said, but did not die. At the last possible moment, she twisted her ship sideways, sliding past the harvester's main weapons and dropping a concentrated burst of energy directly into a gap in the enemy's armor. It was a gap so small that no computer would target it. Only a human pilot, thinking creatively, acting on instinct, would even try. The harvester scout shuddered. Flames erupted from its side. "All ships follow the Storm Dragon," ordered. "Attack the damaged section, everything you have." The remaining human vessels swarmed the wounded machine. They moved like angry insects, unpredictable and fearless, striking from every direction. The harvester's predictive systems could not keep up. They were designed to fight logical enemies, enemies who valued self-preservation, enemies who retreated when the odds turned against them. Humans did not fight like that. 2 more ships were destroyed. Another was badly damaged, but the attack continued. Pilot after pilot flew suicidal runs, targeting weak points that no sane military strategy would attempt. Engineers performed repairs while their ships were still under fire, jury-rigging systems in ways that should not have worked but somehow did. In the end, the Harvester Scout was destroyed. 7 human ships survived, all of them damaged, but they had won. Against an enemy that had annihilated civilizations, humanity had won its first battle. Back on Earth sat in stunned silence. Stood beside him, watching the recording of the battle, tears streaming down her face. "How?" she asked. "How did we win?" His voice was strange, a mixture of wonder and disbelief. "Your species is insane," he said. "Gloriously, beautifully insane. No logical species would attack like that. No rational mind would take those risks. But you did. You threw yourselves at death itself and somehow survived." He looked at with new respect in his golden eyes. I have fought the harvesters for 300 years. I have studied every tactic, every strategy, every way to defeat them. But I never tried what your pilot did today. I never thought to simply be too unpredictable to hit. We call it crazy, said with a small smile. It is crazy, but it works. Stood slowly, his ancient body groaning with the effort. When the main fleet arrives, they will expect what they face today. They will adjust their systems to counter your unpredictability. You must find new ways to surprise them. We will, promised. The next 3 months were the most intense in human history. Every resource on Earth was directed toward defense. Factories ran without stopping. Scientists worked until they collapsed. Soldiers trained until they could barely stand. Taught everything he knew: combat formations, shield frequencies, weapon modifications, ways to confuse harvester targeting systems, ways to exploit their programming. But he also learned. He watched human commanders find solutions he had never considered. He saw engineers create weapons from scraps that should have been impossible. He observed the way humans worked together, not as perfect machines but as chaotic teams, arguing and disagreeing, and somehow producing brilliant results. You make no sense, he told Admiral during a planning session. You argue constantly. Your plans are disorganized. Your chain of command is unclear. Yet when the moment comes, you unite instantly and fight as one. Shrugged, we are human. This is what we do. It is infuriating. Thank you. The fleet grew. 42 warships built and crewed in less than a year. It was not enough. Knew it was not enough. The Harvester main fleet numbered in the hundreds. Even with all the advantages humanity had developed, they were outnumbered and... But then something else happened. Something that showed what humanity truly was. Civilian ships began to arrive. Mining vessels from the asteroid belt. Transport ships from the lunar colonies. Old pleasure yachts that someone had fitted with makeshift weapons. They came from everywhere, from every corner of the solar system, ordinary people who had decided they would not hide while others fought. This is not a military operation, protested. These people are not soldiers, they will die. They know that, said Myra, who had arrived on the command ship to represent Earth's government. They know they will probably die. They came anyway. Watched the ragged fleet assemble. 60 additional ships, then 80, then over 100. Small ships, poorly armed, crewed by farmers and miners and shopkeepers who had never fired a weapon in anger. They formed up beside the military vessels, ready to face an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. Why? Asked. His voice was genuinely confused. They cannot win. Why do they come? It was who answered. The young engineer had come to the command ship to help with technical operations. He had changed since the day he accidentally awakened. He was older now, harder, with none of the fear that had once filled his eyes. Because it is their home, said. Because their families are down there on Earth. Because they would rather die fighting than live knowing they hid while others died for them. That is not logical. No, agreed. It is not logical, it is human. Was silent for a long time. Then he did something that no one expected. He laughed. It was a strange sound, deep and rough, like rocks rolling down a mountain. But it was genuine laughter, the first any of them had heard from the ancient king. You know what the harvesters fear most? Asked. Not weapons, not technology, not fleets or armies or fortresses. They fear things they cannot predict. They fear chaos. They fear creatures that do not behave according to pattern. He looked out at the assembled human fleet, military ships and civilian ships and everything in between. I have been alive for over 100,000 years, he said. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have watched species conquer the stars and crumble to dust, but I have never in all that time seen anything like you. He turned to face Myra, and all the others gathered on the bridge. The harvesters are coming. They will arrive in 3 days. They will bring more firepower than you have ever imagined, and they will expect to crush you easily as they have crushed every other species they have encountered." His golden eyes blazed with something that looked almost like joy. They have no idea what they are facing. They have no idea that humans do not fight like other species. They will come expecting an easy victory, and instead, they will face the most gloriously insane, stubbornly impossible enemy the universe has ever produced. The alien king raised one massive fist. "Let them come," he said. "Let them bring their fleets and their weapons and their cold machine logic. We will show them what chaos looks like. We will show them what it means to face humanity." A cheer erupted across the fleet. Thousands of voices, human and brave and utterly refusing to accept defeat. Smiled. For the first time since he woke, he felt truly alive. "Prepare for battle," he said. "The last war of the king begins now." The Harvester fleet arrived on a cold December morning. 300 vessels emerged from hyperspace, each one the size of a small moon. They blotted out the stars, their massive forms casting shadows across the solar system. For a moment, the entire human fleet was silent, staring at the impossible armada that had come to destroy them. 42 military ships, 137 civilian vessels, 179 ships total against 300 machines of war. The math was impossible, but humanity had never been good at math. "All ships, this is Admiral." The Admiral's voice was calm across the fleet-wide channel. "I will not lie to you. The odds are against us. Many of us will not survive this day. But I want you to remember something. I want you to remember that everything we love, everyone we love, is behind us on that small blue planet. Our families, our friends, our children, they are counting on us." He paused. "So let us show these machines what humanity is made of. Let us show them that we are not just another species to be harvested. Let us show them that some things are worth dying for." The fleet answered with a roar of agreement. The Battle of Saul began. The first engagement was devastating. Harvester weapons tore through the human formation, destroying ships by the dozen. The civilian vessels died first, their makeshift armor no match for technology that had conquered galaxies. But they did not run. They flew into the enemy, buying time for the military ships, sacrificing themselves without hesitation. "They are dying for us," said from the cockpit of the Storm Dragon. Her voice was thick with emotion. "Then make their deaths count," replied from the command ship. "Make every second they give us worth something." The battle evolved into chaos. Human ships darted through the Harvester formation, attacking from unexpected angles, using tactics that no computer program could predict. They crashed into enemy vessels, detonated their own reactors, rammed weak points with nothing but raw courage. 30 ships became 20, 20 became 12. The Harvester fleet had lost only 40 vessels. But then made his move. Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in the same trench where his team had found him, something stirred. A ship, his ship, the Royal Command vessel of the Empire, sleeping in the darkness for 60,000 years. It rose from the water like a leviathan from ancient myth, a vessel 3 kilometers long, shaped like a great blade, covered in armor that had weathered the death of stars. Its engines burned with the light of a dying sun. Its weapons hummed with power that humanity could not comprehend. Stood on the bridge, his ancient body failing, the poison spreading through his veins. He could feel death approaching. He had only hours left, perhaps less. But he could still fight. He could still give humanity one last gift. "This is," he broadcast across all channels, "last king of the Empire. I am taking my ship into the heart of the Harvester fleet. My target is the flagship, the central intelligence that controls all the others. If I can destroy it, the fleet will fall into chaos." "You cannot go alone," said. "Your ship is damaged, your body is failing, you will not survive." "I know," his voice was peaceful. That is why I need you to come with me." Silence. "All of you," continued. "You woke me from my sleep. You gave me purpose again. You showed me that the universe still holds wonders worth protecting. I do not want to die alone. I want to die with warriors at my side." More silence, then spoke. "I am coming." "So am I," said. "Would not miss it," said. "Someone has to keep the systems running," said. "Might as well be me." The four of them transferred to ship. It was enormous inside, built for creatures twice their size, filled with technology they could barely understand, but guided them to the bridge, showed them the basic controls, gave them each a role to play. "Thank you," he said, looking at each of them in turn. "You are the finest warriors I have ever known." "We are just humans," replied. "Yes," smiled, his golden eyes filled with warmth. "That is what makes you magnificent." The ship entered the battle like a shark entering a school of fish. Harvester vessels swarmed it, trying to bring down the ancient warship before it could reach the flagship. Its weapons answered, cutting through enemy ships with precision and power that humanity could not match. But there were too many. For every harvester that fell, two more took its place. The ship was hit again and again, its shields weakening, its armor cracking. Pushed forward anyway. "The flagship is ahead," reported, his fingers flying across alien controls. "But there are at least 50 ships between us and it." Then we go through them. Increased power to the engines. The ship lurched forward, smashing through enemy vessels, taking damage with every meter of progress. Flew a support shuttle, drawing fire away from the main ship. Worked frantically to keep the systems running, rerouting power, patching damaged circuits. Stood beside, watching the battle unfold, understanding that this was the end of something and the beginning of something else. "I never thanked you," said quietly. "For what?" "For waking me. I had given up. I had decided to die alone in the darkness, but you came. You reached out and touched my prison and you brought me back to life." His golden eyes met hers. "You gave me 60,000 years of hope in one single moment." They crashed through the final line of defenders. The Harvester flagship loomed before them, a massive construct of metal and malice. Its weapons turned toward them, ready to destroy this last stubborn enemy. Ship rammed into the flagship's hull. The impact was tremendous. Both vessels shook. Alarms screamed. Systems failed across the board, but the ship held together, its ancient construction absorbing the blow. "We are in," said. "The central intelligence is deep inside. We must reach it and destroy it." The five of them fought their way through the flagship. Harvester drones attacked from every direction, mechanical soldiers designed to stop any intruder. Led the way, his massive body shielding the humans behind him, his ancient strength cutting down enemies with every step. They reached the core, a vast chamber filled with machinery, pulsing with the cold light of artificial intelligence. In the center floated a sphere of pure energy, the mind that controlled the entire Harvester fleet. "Destroy it," said. "Whatever you have to do, destroy it." Stepped forward. He had brought something with him, a device he had been working on for months. It was based on technology but modified with human innovation, designed to disrupt Harvester systems at a fundamental level. He activated it. The central intelligence screamed. The sphere of energy convulsed, cracking, breaking apart. Throughout the fleet, Harvester ships lost coordination. They stopped fighting as a unified force and began moving randomly, their programming shattered. But the feedback was tremendous. Energy poured out of the dying intelligence, filling the chamber with lethal radiation. Stepped forward, placing himself between the energy and the humans. "Go," he said. "Get back to the ship. My body will shield you long enough to escape." "We are not leaving you," said. "You must. The flagship is about to explode. If you stay, you will die." "Then we die together." Looked at her, at all of them. 4 humans who had faced impossible odds, who had followed an alien king into the heart of the enemy, who refused to abandon him even now. "You are remarkable," he said. "Never forget that." He pushed them toward the exit, not roughly but firmly, giving them no choice. Then he turned to face the dying intelligence, spreading his arms wide, absorbing the energy that would have killed them all. Looked back one last time. She saw standing tall, his ancient body burning with light, his 6 golden eyes still open, still watching them escape. "Build something worthy of the galaxy you have inherited," he called out. "And remember, the harvesters were not the only darkness between the stars. There will be others, be ready." The 4 humans made it back to the ship. They launched from the flagship seconds before it exploded, before and the central intelligence were consumed together in a ball of fire that lit up the solar system. The Battle of Sol was over. Of the 300 harvester ships, less than 20 survived, scattered and confused without their guiding intelligence. The human fleet hunted them down one by one, destroying the last remnants of the invasion. Humanity had won. 100 years later, the Terran conquered spans 12 star systems. Ships Bering's Crest patrol the borders of human space. On Island, where an alien king first walked on human soil, a monument stands. A 4-meter statue of gazing out at the sea. Beneath it is a simple inscription. "He slept for 60,000 years. He woke to find us. He died so we could inherit the stars. Last king of the first ally of humanity, remembered forever." And in the deepest laboratories of the Terran Science Division, his granddaughter studies her grandmother's records. She has found something in old data files. Coordinates. A location far beyond harvester territory. A place where perhaps others survived. Park prepares her expedition. The last king's people may not be as lost as he believed, and if they still exist, she will find them. Humanity inherited the stars. Now it is time to discover what else waits in the darkness. The story of and humanity is not over. It is only beginning.